Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Show to V with Mike G, the show of life, the show of Canada, the show of the Philippines, Paramour, San Antonio's cocktail dream team, and more. Today's guest is the amazing Jonny Yumol, formerly of Paramour and many other great San Antonio cocktail establishments. But this chat is an interesting one. You know, you keep up with Jonny's Facebook feed, for instance, and you get to see all these amazing adventures he's now kind of experiencing as a ride-sharing driver. But this chat is the first I think he talks about actually transitioning out of the bar industry into full-time writing, Hemingway-esque at times, Steinbeck, etc., etc. But we'll see what Jonny is up to. It's great getting to know him and understand where he's come from, the political turmoil, the violence, the lack of violence in Canada, and so much more. So I hope you guys enjoy this great chat with Jonny Yumol.
I'm kind of tired. It's been a very eventful week for me. I've been just kind of nose deep in cocktail conference.
Yeah. Thinking about this week, which is this interesting. I mean, I keep using this word duality in these chats this week. I don't know why, but there is the academic side, which is a great thing. You got Missy Kalkofen talking about sustainability. You got Guillermo Salazar talking about tequila. Tomas says great stuff, right? But there's also a massive amount of indulgence, rather.
You know, I've always had this study practice in, when I was in college, and the best way I can remember things when I really cram is if I'm completely intoxicated when I do it.
Yeah.
I have a odd photographic memory.
Do you really?
Yeah, I do. It's really weird.
That's not weird. That's superhero like. Is it weird because it's like memento and you don't remember things backwards?
Well, no, it's unlike people where, the more alcohol they drink, the less they remember. I'm kind of the other way around.
You're opening the third wall?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's fucking, I don't understand. I'm sorry.
I like
too much.
No, I like this. No, I mean, we're going to talk about whatever. I want you to feel like this is the thing, right? We're sitting here with Capitas drinking water, drinking mezcal.
Well, I got to kind of chase it down a little bit right now. The heartburn's kind of...
I love the heartburn part. No, actually, it's not true. That's why I don't drink daiquiris that often, actually.
I every time I try... So I was one of the idiots that was there, that happened to be there when, I guess, like, San Antonio decided to just slam daiquiris.
Right. A very historical moment, I'm sure.
Very historical moment. We were all in the Brooklyn line, and it was, like, mostly, like, guys that still work in the company right now, and then Javi... Gutierrez, who works at Park Social now. So it was a bunch of us. We were together. And somebody, I think, I don't want to say it was Jarrell, had the bright idea of just like, hey, make us 5 daiquiris.
Okay.
Just for the crew.
Yeah.
And I remember that because I said, like, I don't want a daiquiri right now, man. Like, it's too sweet. I don't really want one right now. Not saying that they can't make a daiquiri,
right?
But it's just
it's like a time and place, dude.
It's a sweet drink.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
It's acidic. That's the whole point.
It's acidic and it's really sweet. I'm not one of those guys that like base bartender skills on daiquiris,
Yeah.
But so he laid it out, and then he just goes, "Okay, we're gonna take it like a shot."
Oh God!
It's like, what do you mean? Like we're gonna chug it? Like, yeah, we're gonna chug it. It's a full cocktail. You're gonna chug it, Jonny. And, being the smallest guy in the group, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's going to be one of those nights.
What do you think's ultimately the point of that shit? What? All right, let's bring it back. Let's widen the lens about this, right?
Okay,
so
do it.
How old are you now?
I am now 35 years old.
35, great.
Yeah.
So I'm 36, turning 37 here in a few weeks. So we've been through some shit. Sounds like you went to college. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
Sounds like you were a creative dude, writing even, right? So, okay, great. So we're both in this industry or in this time and place.
Yeah.
things are thriving.
Yeah.
It's like the fucking glorious 20s, right? Lots of great cocktails.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
But
it's a great time.
there's a decision we have to make at this age that either we go all in
Uh-huh.
and it's worse for us because we're older, or we just realize like you can pick and take the cocktails you want to drink and the ones that you don't. So being immersed in this culture, surrounded by dudes that are very business savvy,
Yeah,
good
absolutely.
makers of cocktails, how do you feel about saying no to shit?
You know, see, I can't say no because some of the most successful, Jarrett and Chris Ware, who I worked for, all these guys, they're so, great at what they do.
Right.
But I feel like an idiot when I say no to them because I know they can party harder than I can. And
But what does it matter, though?
well, I don't know.
You feel like you need to keep up with it?
Maybe that's probably just bro code.
Yeah, for sure. Well, no, I'm casting no judgment, man.
Yeah.
Like, you want to hang. If
Yeah, of
everybody's
course.
eating pizza, you're going to eat pizza. Everybody
course.
drinking mezcal and a mezcalria, you're going to drink it.
Of course.
It's like, how do you, but at some point, does it become difficult to balance all of that? To balance all that drinking?
Honestly, it hasn't been. And actually, lately, I haven't really been binge drinking as much as I was in years past.
Yeah.
I've actually kind of toned it down quite a bit. And actually, the last couple of nights, and usually it's cocktail conference, everybody gets a little crazier than usual. I've been very, I wouldn't say responsible, because responsible is I wouldn't, I would stop drinking every, 2 shots.
You've tempered it.
I've kind of toned it down a whole lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
That's good. I mean, was there a moment that felt necessary, or is it just like, nah, it just feels like the right thing to do for me?
It's both, kind of, my age advancing, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
We can talk about age, I'm here to commiserate with you.
I remember, because I remember my metabolism slowed down considerably when I turned 26.
Yeah.
And now, I don't get hangovers anymore. I get just really bad heartburn.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's the worst. I don't like waking up and I feel like I got to claw my chest open just to get this.
feeling.
Yeah, it's terrible. I drink so much milk now, and which sucks because I'm lactose intolerant too.
God
so
damn,
it's just
you're just walking in a circle.
it's a
Drinking
terrible
and
cycle. It's
pissing
a terrible cycle. I'm not gonna cure myself. I'm not gonna check on WebMD because they're probably gonna tell me I'm gonna die. So
No, you're not gonna die. You know, it's actually I find very interesting. So acidity, right? So heartburn being the kind of excess of acidity in your stomach. If you eat a bunch of greens, which are very alkaline, I can't remember the word. That actually helps, and then they're non-dairy. It's like kale helps, broccoli helps.
I love kale, actually.
See, and it's really good because it basically stabilizes the pH of your stomach, thusly kind of canceling out. That's a tip for me to you, being just a mere year older than you.
Well, like I said, I've been toning it down, but I guess it is cocktail conference, so
I know, dude.
I mean, we're also drinking mezcal at
12:21. That's
20.
fair.
Yeah, okay. It's
East Coast,
afternoon.
it's 1:30. That's no, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
past noon. Okay.
it's good company too.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
There we
Nothing
go. How
wrong
about
with
that? That's really we're celebrating in
Yeah.
a sense, and so it's brilliant to be here in San Antonio. It's brilliant to sit down and chat. And again, I thank you for kind of stepping away from Taco Land over there in the San Anthony Hotel. But you are a San Antonio dude, so everything that I was reading or could read, you've been here your whole life. Is that correct?
Not so much. Okay, now that's a very long story, but
Please,
this is what it's all about. So I was actually born in the Philippines.
Okay.
In Quezon City.
Which is why you speak Tagalog, right?
Yes, yeah,
And I
I'm
know
very-
Quezon City actually, which is
I'm not probably as fluent as I need to be, but I don't think it really is because of the fact that I've been away from the language that much. I think it's more because I never really spoke, my Tagalog got up to I don't know, till I was 10 years old.
okay. That's not too
So
bad.
I don't really know how to take an order,
I see, yeah.
but I can have just minimal conversations. I don't think I can debate with you politically.
I can't hardly do it in English.
Yeah,
so.
exactly, exactly. So I was there until I was 10. After 10, I moved to Canada, to Calgary.
What was the impetus for moving from the Philippines?
When I lived there, it was a crazy place. It was insane.
Marcos, right?
Yeah, so I was there for the ascent of the Ferdinand Marcos regime.
Yeah.
So I know 1982, I believe. What was it? One of the things I heard is he killed a whole group of his political opponents in open air theater because he dumped cement from the top.
Holy shit, you can't.
It's crazy shit.
So real tense and like very violent.
Yeah, I remember the People's Power revolution in 1986 at EDSA. I remember being there because, my parents were, of course, supporters of like getting rid of Mark. I mean, nobody liked him at that point. And I remember
a lot of parallels to right now, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the funny part about that, but that's another time,
History.
I guess.
Yeah.
But I would have remembered that they were walking me down the street, and I just see large tanks, and they're blocking tanks. I'm like, what is like? As a child, you don't really think about that.
Yeah.
And that's one of my memories, and you don't really think about that as a child, but like, when I finally started learning about these things in school, I'm like, holy shit, I was in a terrible time.
Yeah. But I mean, incredible in the sense that when else in your life will you be, not that you should, but will you be exposed to something that is so, it's profound, like, shit happened then that shaped the nation. Like, after
exactly.
that, I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Again, in parallel probably to how we're living in the States now.
I mean, I don't think he's, done any mass murdering yet, but we'll see.
It's hard to say.
It happens
in incremental places and times and incremental activities.
Yeah, exactly.
So is it safe to assume then the move to Calgary is for, what do they call it, sanctuary? Like,
in a way, yeah, because my dad was also he rubbed elbows with like certain politicians.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it's given his position, and he was.
What did he do?
He was a manager in a large corporate entity over there, and of course that I remember the people who were working under the labor unions under him opposed the guy that he's supporting. So at a certain point, we were getting death threats as a family. I had the unfortunate event of being in the car with him when he was taking me home from school, and we passed by like some sort of check stop. And then, of course, he has bumper stickers all over it. Check stop is run by the NPA, which is the National People's Army, the communists. And they saw the stickers, and they were gonna get him out and do whatever, and he just drove off. And so the first time I got shot at was with AK-47.
Holy shit!
When I was 8 years old.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I didn't know. None of us got hit, but the car was in terrible shape when we got home.
Can you? So you mentioned not being able to really grasp the concept or kind of what's going on with the tank piece, which that kind of makes some sense.
Yeah.
Tanks are toys and stuff. For us when we're
exactly.
Younger. But getting shot at in a car?
Yeah, that's scary.
That's frightening, isn't it?
Yeah, that's frightening, especially when you later on find out that the rounds of these things are like that long.
Holy shit!
Like the bullets are that big. Like, oh my god! Like, imagine that just like piercing your skin.
Right.
It's a terrible thing to think about, but.
So suffice it to say, like with this culmination of violence and threats and just overall tension, you guys got to get the fuck out of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I mean, and not only that, there was like 2 coup d'états that happened.
Wow.
I remember like going to school, ducking, gunfire, because the army used our school at the time as a state, like as a base.
Okay.
So it was craziness. So yeah, there was a lot of craziness.
Crazy. I can't fathom it.
And a lot of people were like, when I would tell people that story, they're like, I was in the Philippines. He wasn't that crazy. I was like, yeah.
Where were you though?
You're way after the crazy part. The crazy part stopped in 1992. I was gone by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was pretty much the whole time I was there was just full of strife. It's ridiculous.
Were you able to be a kid? You know what I mean? Because part of that's being innocent and not really understanding.
More or less. I mean, it wasn't like, in our neighborhood that we lived in that, we had, armies going down and, just kind of like pointing guns at people. It wasn't really like that. But, with everything that's kind of happening around you, like when you left your little, quiet pocket of Manila and you actually went into the city, then it's just crazy.
That's crazy, man. So how... Could you feel the difference in tempo being in Canada?
Oh, absolutely. Canada was so much more laid back. It's probably quite possibly the most laid back place I've ever lived in.
Yeah.
And I actually don't like the hot weather. That's why I really hate this winter right now.
Oh, and it's like all humid today in the winter.
I know, it's terrible. Crazy. It's like a San Antonio like summer right now.
Yeah, it's so crazy.
But I remember walking out of the plane. and feeling the cold air. And I remember my first reaction was being a 10-year-old kid, like, oh my God, this place just feels like it's under AC the whole time. I remember thinking that, and then my mom's like, well, it's really cold here. Like, the weather gets really cold.
Right.
And I said, this is great.
I can do this, yeah.
I don't have to sweat anymore. I love this. I mean, of course, I've had some really bitter winters where I was just like, yeah, okay, this may be too cold.
Yeah, I mean, it pushes us. I mean, you're living in extremes here, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I went from extreme tropical to extreme
armpit.
Canada.
Oh, got it. Right. And then to the next leg of it, which is fucking Texas heat.
Which is Texas heat that is just super humid. Yeah.
Gross. It's so gross. So how long were you in, you said Calgary, right?
Calgary, yeah. So that was post 1988 Olympics, post 1989. They won the Flames won the Stanley Cup.
Oh, cool.
So at the time when I got there, it was like rich in sports.
Yeah.
Like the sports was very celebrated over there, and so I got into hockey because
ice hockey, of course.
Yeah, it's a fun game to get into. I mean, a lot of people are like, well, they just hit each other and then they get into fights, and then nobody could ever score anything. I was like, that's the same with soccer.
It's way more in soccer, except it's got to be difficult to ice skate like that, right?
Oh, yeah, it's difficult to ice skate. Control a stick with a little fucking puck.
Yeah.
I mean, the puck is smaller than this mic thing.
The puck filter.
Way smaller. Oh, I'm not going to check that.
Well, we both have phones. We're getting pinged. I'm like, I wonder who's chatting. But, yeah, so I love the kind of the difference, the contrast.
Yeah.
Where it's like jungly.
Yeah.
Maybe some soccer.
Yeah.
It's freaking Calgary, Alberta, right? And then lots of snow, ice skating.
Oh, yeah.
What kinds of things did you... I mean, so it's cool the ice skating bit, but for you, what did you really take an interest in beyond sports?
I think that's probably where so back almost kind of like when I was a kid, I actually didn't speak Tagalog until I was 4 years old. I actually spoke English first.
Oh, really?
So
both your parents spoke English? Or?
Yes, my mom liked to watch American movies.
Yeah.
So then when she get me books, she would get me American books, like English books, not Tagalog books. So my first exposure to language has been English. I could understand what they were saying, but I would always respond in English. And then, I remember my aunts and uncles thinking that was weird, but they're like, oh, well, pretty much that's what he was, surrounded by.
Yeah.
So it probably also contributes to the fact that I can't really speak very good Tagalog these days, but nonetheless, I kind of picked up my passion for cooking and writing when I was in Canada.
Yeah.
Because one day my mom was actually lazy. She came in from work. She had a hard day at work. She's like, I don't feel like cooking. Why don't you guys cook? And my sister's like, I don't want to burn anything down. And my little brother was like, I don't want to burn anything down.
Right.
I'm like, I kind of want to burn something down.
Let's do this.
Let's do it. Yeah, tell me what to do. Like, just sit there. Tell me exactly what to do, and I'll do it. And not only that, and I used to always just like watch my mom cook when I was a kid. So I've always been really interested in cooking. So I picked those two up. And then when I got to school, I just, I was kind of a loner. It's
hard when you move.
You don't know anybody. Like, everybody doesn't look like you. It's kind of weird. But so I just kind of took to just reading a lot of books, and with those reading books, and I started just writing. Yeah. And so I just, when everybody was like, "Wow, this guy's scoring really high in English. What is going on here?"
This guy,
being that I was an immigrant from predominantly non-English speaking country, they're like, "What?" Like, and then I would read like the stories out loud, and they're like, "What the hell? Did he write that? Did somebody?" I remember my teachers like, "Did somebody write that for you?" I'm like, "No, I did it."
So you could create it. You had a lot going on creatively.
Yeah.
What kinds of things did you like to write about?
Honestly, it's usually in the nonfiction. Well, I won't say nonfiction, but like I like to write about the human interactions.
Yeah.
Maybe because, like I said, I was a loner, and maybe because I longed for that, or I was looking for that.
Great point. Yeah.
That I would always like to create, human interactions in my stories. And so I remember writing a bunch of that, and my teachers were like, "Holy shit! Like, why are you, like, where are you coming up with this?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I just do it.
That's amazing.
So yeah, I'm sure if I read those things again, like, I don't know if my mom kept any of them.
Yeah.
But I'm sure if I read them again, oh god, that was awful. But
but for the time
I was 12
and place,
years old,
I mean, that's pretty exceptional.
Yeah.
How far did writing take you? Because I imagine academically, is there a lot of pressure to go to college and all that?
There is a lot of pressure. I mean, I know there's a running stereotype joke where Asian people,
I wasn't gonna say.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna say it because I'm going to say it.
But it happens. It happens.
Yeah. That's always been a thing. I didn't like going to school. I actually really hated school.
But you did well.
No.
You did well in English.
No. I did well in certain subjects. I was great in English. I was great in theater. I was great in PE.
Yeah.
I was great in that's it. That's it, really. I sucked at science. I sucked at math. Okay, I was decent in history. I was B student history. So that's good. But everything else I was terrible at, And not so much that because I couldn't understand the criteria, I just wasn't interested.
You're probably, I'm not to say you're better than it, but sometimes those like really broad and kind of deep thinkers, it's just they can't be occupied in our realm, right? They have to be in this other place.
I mean, how often? I mean, I'm 35 now. I have not had to use a quadratic equation once.
Yeah, I can't recall.
I haven't. I haven't been. I didn't have to like graph an equation once.
Yeah.
In my since getting out of algebra. Like,
sure.
Why are you teaching me this? That's. I understand actually in the bigger sense.
No, you're utilitarian. You got time, man. You want to put it to good use. Yeah.
I completely understand the point of it, but just for me, for myself, the traditional way of education was just not for me.
Yeah.
So I didn't like going to class. I didn't like having to be there at like 8 a.m. and sitting there and listening to a boring teacher. But I loved learning things on my own.
Yeah.
So that's and which is why I got so drawn to bartending, is because everything I learned on my own.
Yeah.
On top of somebody guiding with me.
Sure.
But education and I never really got along.
Like it was sanctioned, kind of structured education.
Yeah,
not
structured
really
education. Yeah. So there was a big pressure for me to go to college, but I never wanted to.
Yeah.
I worked for about a year and a half before I decided, okay, I think I can go to college now.
What were you doing? Just kind of.
I started my very first job. I worked at Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut.
I was a cook.
Not gonna hide it.
Then I moved up to a manager within 6 months.
This still in Canada?
Yeah, no, this is actually in San Antonio now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So what was, because I get kind of a sense of age. You're probably like 18, 19, something like that.
Yeah.
What brought you to San Antonio then?
So my parents wanted to move to San Antonio because my dad couldn't get a decent job in Canada.
Gotcha. Okay.
They weren't honoring his degrees.
I see.
My mom's degrees weren't being honored either, but she was a little bit more successful than he was because she was very technically gifted.
What did she do?
She's a computers lady.
Got it. Okay.
So she did a lot of systems analyst sort of work.
Yeah.
A lot of Oracle, a lot of stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah, database stuff.
My dad is kind of like, he's more the management type. He's more the that's probably the best way to put it, is the management. He's a people guy.
Got it.
And the jobs that he was doing, he was working in a convenience store and he was a security guard in Canada. And he's like, this is bullshit. I've worked for my degrees and they won't honor it because it's not a degree from Canada. So he got a job actually in the Philippines to be in San Antonio to be an educator. He was a professor in University of Incarnate Word here in San Antonio.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. So
what discipline was he teaching? Management,
business
stuff?
Yeah, business management. He's actually has an MBA, and I think right now he's actually the dean of business at Claflin University in South Carolina.
That's crazy.
So,
well, good for him.
Yeah,
it worked out. I think that move ended up being a good.
Oh yeah, it was good for him.
Yeah.
It was good for him. So we all moved down there, and around that time, my dad and my mom were kind of splitting up.
Yeah.
My mom actually managed to get a great job over here. She was working for Valero for a little bit, then she got the system analyst. Not the gas station side.
Yeah, no, it's the corporate side.
Yeah, the corporate side. And then she got a job at USA where she stayed on for like almost 20 years.
That's crazy. So some good career stability on both ends.
Oh, absolutely. Because she was, doing decent in Canada, but when we moved down here, she was like, oh my God, like this is so much better.
Yeah.
Granted, there's no free healthcare thing anymore.
There's some differences for sure, but probably more financial opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
Than in Canada. Are your brother and sister still here?
My sister lives in Toronto now.
Oh, okay.
She lived here. She moved here with us, but she left by the time she was 19.
Mm.
Yeah, 19. So by the time she was 19 or 20, yeah. I lived with her actually for a little bit. Then she wanted to move back to Canada, and she picked Toronto because my uncle lived there.
Cool.
And that helped her get back into school over there. So So yeah, she's still living over there.
That's cool. So how about your younger brother?
My younger brother lives here still.
Oh, cool.
So
you guys still hang out and stuff?
See, he doesn't drink.
Yeah.
So we don't really, when we hang out, it's like we're going to play video games and we're just going to, just do that.
Which isn't too bad.
Which is not bad at all.
It's a great way to bond.
Yeah. And for me, like, when I don't feel like drinking anyways, that's what I do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just more fun to do it with your brother. So
you
it's just like,
you by chance still write?
I do actually. And, I'm actually kind of trying to focus on that right now.
It's a great outlet that's not drinking.
Yeah.
Although the two can feed into each other.
And that's the funny part, though, is because everybody's always like, oh, you're a writer, so you must be an alcoholic, right? So, in a way, it's kind of true.
Maybe so. But some people, I met someone recently, they said, I can, Eric Rosentretter from Redemption.
Oh, okay.
He said, I can't drink and be good at art. And I'm like, oh, that's strange.
It makes sense.
It totally does.
Because I'm very subdued when I write without alcohol. I was very subdued with what I want to say, and then when I do drink, maybe like 3 or 4 scotches in, and that's when I'm like I open up the floodgates. And usually I will go and read over what I did the next day, and I'm like, holy shit, that's so much better. Why am I not more drunk when I write? Right?
Because it can become a problem.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the thing with that one is I don't like drinking by myself because I enjoy drinking in a social environment.
Sure.
I don't enjoy drinking by myself because it just, kind of reminds me of the insecurities that I have for being a loner.
It's a great point. I mean, I moved around a lot too when I was younger, and I am probably to a fault too self-sufficient because then you don't let other people in, right?
Exactly, and that's the problem I have.
Well, so here's an interesting question, a little bit of a tangent, but do you find it hard to love people? You know what I mean? And I'm not trying to get like Dr. Philly, but it's hard.
I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say so. I usually come into meeting people where everybody's kind of same blank level with me, and it just depends what you do or what you say to get you up or down.
So you're open to it.
I'm very open. I'm very. I mean, like I can be a people person, I guess. I mean, I am.
I know you like being. I saw that Espelon thing. Like I could see you performing and enjoying that.
I enjoy that. I enjoy making people laugh. I enjoy being a bit of an idiot. I like making people laugh. I like the and that's actually kind of the thing with my writing too. Is my writing is more tended to more represent the comedic side.
Interesting.
I try not to make it sound like comedic, but like when you look at it and you stand back and you write and you read it, it's like, wow, that's really funny.
What kind of comedy do you like? You can talk stand-up or writer. What kind of things are you into?
So I'm into a lot of stand-up. I can't really like specify. I can't really because it always changes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know my favorites have always been like George Carlin and Louis C.K. and even fucking what's his name, Sam Kinnear.
Sam Kinison.
Yeah, Kinison.
Yeah.
Oh, I fucking loved him. And everybody was like, well, he. Or in Rodney Dangerfield.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my way of comedy, too, is I love self-deprecating humor.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I do that a lot. And, and I'm sure you've seen some of my Facebook posts. It's always somewhat self-deprecating.
Yeah.
It's just funny that way.
Well, I think so, too. I mean, there's the tortured artist thing that works. It works for a reason.
It works, exactly.
And I think we need... Right now, we really need some George Carlin, man.
Yeah.
We need someone that is screaming his head off about how fucked up things are.
Yeah, no.
But a different topic altogether, I'm sure. So
exactly.
Did you end up finishing school then, here in San Antonio?
So I went to Incarnate Word.
Yeah. Was your dad working there at that point?
Yeah, my dad was working there at the time, and he's like, well, while I'm working here, you get free tuition.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Which, that place, I mean, it's $30,000 per semester, I believe.
Really, really expensive.
I mean, because it's a private university.
Yeah.
So it's insanely priced. And then, so like, okay, cool, that's fine. And then, at the time, like I said, I was working at Pizza Hut. I have a little money, so I was like, okay, cool. Well, I'd still like to apply for financial aid because there's all these other fees.
Yeah.
And it's just like going to a public university and a private university is you still pay the same,
sure,
fees you pay in a private university that you do in a public university. They just also have another $30,000 on top.
Exactly.
So that's waived, but because they said that it was waived, I can't get financial aid.
Oh man!
So that pissed me off.
Yeah.
So I was, doing college. I was working 60 hours a week as a manager in Pizza Hut, and I was also going to school for 18 hours per semester.
What were you writing? Can I assume, or was something else?
I wanted to get into creative writing, but my parents kind of guilt tripped me over changing my major, which
business
happens. Yes, business marketing actually, business marketing. So I did that. Not that it wasn't terrible. I mean, I actually took a lot from the marketing side of things. It's just I wasn't maybe as interested in it. But actually, by the time I got to college and how the structure in classes is so much different than it was in high school, I actually kind of enjoyed my time there.
That's good. I mean, it's good because you don't get to live that time again.
No,
you know what I mean? Like
not.
Now you got obligations, you get bills, and just to kind of be open to education and not be jaded about the world yet.
Yeah,
that's a nice feeling.
And especially like these are the things that like you can actually sit there and like, you know what, I will use that in the future. It's not like
business is very applicable.
Yeah, I can like anything like the sociology side of it, the demographics, and like just marketing in general. Is like I can use this for anything. For sure. I can use this for everything.
Yeah,
so
it's applicable.
It's good.
Well, so I think here's an interesting intersection. I interviewed Javi recently. And did you guys work at Sushi at the same time?
Yes, actually, that's where we met.
No kidding.
Actually, after college would also bring me to where I first got into bartending.
Yeah.
At the time, I was working at Bennigan's right next to Sushi Juicy. Okay. So Bennigan's, of course, as we know, is that Irish,
Hell yeah, the Monte Cristo, dude.
Yeah, the Monte Cristo all day. So I went in there as a server, but I applied to be a barback. And they're like, well, we don't really have any room for barbacks right now because we don't really have a barback. We only have bartenders. I'm like, okay, well, can I be a bartender? Like, no, you don't have any experience, but we'll hire you as a server. So I showed interest in that. So I was a server for a while, but I kept going up to the bar and asking them questions. We had a really rude dude that worked there named Dan. I can't remember his last name.
Bartender guy?
Yeah, bartender. He's super rude. He always gave me a lot of shit.
The rude dude is a great nickname, mind you.
I know.
That's like a great fucking wrestler name.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's a pro wrestler name. So Dan would give me shit all the time. And, when I'd tell him I'm interested in the bar, he'll laugh at me, laugh in my face, and just like, yeah, you can't do this, Chevy. Eventually, like, I got really drunk one day off of work while he was working, and I, just kind of, let loose on him. And he was laughing his ass off. I was like, that's good. I'm going to start telling you about bartending now. So because I got into an argument with him and I fucking lashed out at him, that he's like, I like him.
You shall pass.
He's got balls.
I love that. So you start, the door has opened into the booze realm.
Yeah, and that's where it opened. So I did, instead of actually being right at the bar, they moved me to a cocktail server.
Yeah.
So with that being around the bar all the time, I started getting more like information about liquor and cocktails.
Was booze a piece? Like, did your mom and dad drink at all?
My dad was a big drinker, but all he drank was light beer.
Oh, okay.
And my mom didn't really drink a lot. She liked margaritas, but like the booze part, it's not really big. They're not really on the creative side of booze as far as the two of them are concerned. Like I said, my dad, he didn't even take shots. He just drank light beer all the time. He will kill a case very quickly.
Right.
Again, I tried to go toe-to-toe with him on that one, failed miserably. It probably is also the reason why I cannot drink light beer anymore.
Well, there's got to be a reason.
Yeah. So
underneath all of that,
Exactly.
Well, so it sounds like you're developing an interest, maybe a creative interest in flavors, and because you're like cooking, which is a larger version of cocktail.
Exactly. Huger version.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get into the cocktail part. I kind of wanted to just get into the bartending part because, like I said, I've always been a loner all my life, and I kind of enjoyed the fact that, like, when I turned 21 eventually, like this during college, and I would see people walk in and just be like coming up to the bartender just ran the room and everybody respected.
Right? Yeah.
And I was like, God, that's fucking amazing. I want to be like that. And honestly, like, besides writer, my number 2 was actually bartender.
Yeah.
Like, that's something I wanted to be.
Wow.
And so I was just so enamored by the fact that, like, the bartender run the room. And no matter who walked in, and, when somebody was being a dick, all he did to say was just a few words. And they were just, okay, I'm sorry.
I heard, this is interesting, because I heard this sentiment yesterday when I was talking with Zara Bates, and she said, you go into this industry looking for the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Some people want a sense of duty, right? They want to get down in the weeds and they want to craft things, prep, perhaps, logistical things.
Yeah.
Seems like without knowing it or knowing it, it became a window for you to be able to be more social and to be more connected with people.
And I think that had a lot to do with it because, of course, even then, I would never really go out to bars by myself. And when I do go out to bars by myself, I would usually chat up the bartender and just kind of pick their brain. And it's like it's always been like I always kind of looked up to bartenders for that. And some people are like, that's kind of a like a low thing to look at.
No, but so you're right. People perceive it that way, but it's a lucrative career.
It is a very lucrative career. I mean, I can attest to that.
Yeah,
I can attest to that. But
so this is you get again like kind of these interesting chapters about things. You're a writer. Did you end up finishing school, getting your degree and all that?
No, actually, I almost did, but I just got tired of it. Of course,
yeah. Well, because of the structure, again, right?
Because I'm just a fickle bastard. And I just could not do it anymore. So I was like, no, I quit.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So, you pick up a couple gigs and you're kind of building your chops and understanding ingredients and compiling these things. For you, what was kind of the eye-opening moment where you realize like making drinks is more than just making drinks? It is a balance of flavor. It's about places, about time.
So I really wasn't interested in trying to make drinks creatively until after I worked with Jarrett and Esquire, and that was 4 years after I've already started bartending.
Oh wow!
So I really wasn't interested at first in that side of things. Again, I was more interested in the social aspect of it. But you mentioned Javi and how we worked at Sushi Juicy together. That's exactly what happened. He left Sushi Juicy to work with Jarrett when he opened the Esquire Tavern. And he calls me up because he knows I'm having problems with Sushi Juicy because I'm a notoriously hard person to work with.
What is the element that makes it difficult? Why are you? Because you seem real amenable and real like cordial right now. I'm not reading. If I'm not picking up on something.
I don't know. I have a very, very short temper.
I see.
I mean, there's nothing that we're doing right now that will make me angry unless you maybe punch me in the face.
I can't. My reach isn't long enough.
Yeah, but even if you do, I probably won't even be that angry. But if you punch me in the face during work, I'll probably, get myself thrown in prison.
But see, that's a reasonable reason to be mad.
Exactly.
Why the fuck did you punch me? I'm kind of pissed now. Right,
exactly.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, exactly.
But notoriously hard to work with. I'm gonna have to. I'll ask Javi and see what he says. But
please do. He's probably gonna say no. He really isn't. He just has a temper. That's what it is. I have a temper.
Got it. Running hot.
And sometimes people will say the wrong things, and I will, instead of thinking about what I'll say, I'll fire first, and I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said that.
Yeah. No, but that's all right. Fine. We all go through that stuff. That's what makes us passionate, fiery, creative types.
Yeah, passionate is something I've been described to be.
That's good.
Because I really do get into it sometimes when I describe what I do. You know? But anyways,
I like that. But so back to the Esquire. Javi's there, Jarrett's there. You got a great team already. It sounds.
Oh yeah. So I always look fondly at those days in 2011. When 2011, 2012, when he brought me in, he's like, I don't have a room for a bartender right now. Mm-hmm. Actually, just going to segue into Steve Martin, who's my best friend. I don't have any room for a bartender right now. Could you work as a server instead? I was willing to swallow my pride because, like, Javi was telling me, like, you need to work here. Mm-hmm. This is where bartenders like us need to be. Mm-hmm. And, I was looking at what they were doing. I was like, this is amazing. Like, this craft cocktail business is amazing. And I was looking at the menu. I was like, wait, Jared created that drink? Jared created that drink? You created? Wow. Like, for me, I was like, what? I
coming from a corporate place, right?
I only know the little black book that we bartenders always used to carry. Like, all of us club bartenders, restaurant bartenders carry. We know how to make fucking grasshoppers, but I don't know about all this other shit. Like, this is amazing. You came up with a drink? And that's what I would say. And I was like, you came up with a drink? How can you do that?
Yeah.
And so, I was enamored by it. And so we, as a server, I just kind of studied a lot. That's when I kind of like went off to the side and just started buying books, picking up books and reading over it.
Again, learning at your own pace.
Just learning at my own pace. Like, because I was over here, I was like, I don't know what to sell because they have this shelf of liquor. I don't know what half of it is.
It's insane. It's like a library in there.
It's like coming in from the club and restaurant bar scene and you go into there. Mm-hmm. It's different. Like, I mean, when I have no idea what the fuck Aperol was.
Right.
Like, what is that? Like, I know what Campari is, but I didn't know Campari tasted the way it did because it always just sat in every single bar I worked at.
Yeah.
Sat in the corner full of flies. Even TABC wouldn't pick it up.
Right.
But this one, they had Campari in each well. I'm like, why is that? And I learned to love this stuff too.
Sure.
Exactly. But, so that kind of piqued my interest, and, I've always kind of pushed for it. So around the same time I got hired, Steve Martin got hired, and he went straight to bartender.
What the fuck?
And I was like, wait, hold on. how is this guy bartending and I'm not? Like, this makes no sense to me. I mean, granted, Jared gave me a practical test. Well, not really but like he asked me a few questions.
Sure.
I answered them very, very wrongly. And so Steve Martin came in. He didn't even get a test. He just got hired. I later on find out that he and Jared went to high school together.
Oh, no shit.
So I'm like, okay, this motherfucker. I don't like this guy anymore.
Cronyism.
And so, going back to, perpetuating it, the kids would always kind of make fun of me for being Asian. So there'll always be some jokes here and there, some off-color jokes. And Steve would used to just kind of like participate with it. But like very like the way he did it was very annoying to me. So Javi would just be like, change the L's to R's kind of thing when he's talking to me, that sort of thing. And then you'll just hear Steve Martin in the back and go, oh, no.
Oh, jeez.
And I just look at him like, okay. And like after the third time, I just went to Javi, like, man, I'm going to fucking hit that guy one day. Like, I don't even know who he is. I don't know why he's like, dude, he's cool. Don't worry about it.
Did you hit him?
No.
Okay.
No, never did. We actually bonded over football.
Oh, that's good. Wait, what kind of football?
It was
U.S. football?
Yeah,
okay.
American football. No, yeah, fuck that. He doesn't do soccer. I don't do soccer. It was a game between Notre Dame and Michigan. He's a Notre Dame grad, so he predicted the outcome of the game at the second quarter.
Oh, that's crazy.
The entire outcome, word for word, play for play of the game. Notre Dame losing, of course. And
of course.
He predicted it like to the T, and I'm just like, I was over there like, you're fucking amazing, man. Like this is cool.
Yeah.
And so since then we just became good friends, and like I was actually the best man of his wedding.
No kidding.
And in the same football related thing, I fumbled the ring handing it off to the.
I like the word fumble though. It's great.
I fumbled the ring handing it into the priest, so he's just like, you're never gonna be the
time.
This is the last time you're my best man. I was like, I hope so too for your sake.
God, don't hope so soon.
Yeah.
The way things go, Jesus.
So actually, about December of 2011, it was my birthday. Jared and we had it at Javi's place. Jared came by, and he's like, "Hey, pops," he used to say pops. He says pops a lot. Hey, pops, I'm gonna your schedule's gonna change next week, and happy birthday. That's what he said. I'm kind of like, what the fuck does he mean by that? So he grabbed me some mezcal or whatever, and it just finally clicked as I was, drinking a mezcal. I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna be a bartender.
You got it.
And he's like, yep. Like, oh, wow, this is awesome.
It's amazing.
And that time, and I'll tell you the staff right now. The staff was myself, Steve Martin, Kara Carmack, Rob Gourlay, Elizabeth Forsyth,
jeez,
Jarrett,
Javi, right?
Javi. We had Joe Hernandez. Those are all the bartenders. We had barbacks, Roy Guerrero and Vicente Sarabia. And that was the crew, man.
That's the AllStar Team.
That was. I mean, all of us ran bars at one point in our time since then, and that was a James Beard nominated Esquire crew.
Yeah,
that was an amazing time in my life.
You know what's interesting about that? Yeah. I love that because I think about the NBA AllStar Team or the NBA Olympic team.
Yeah,
remember that Patrick Ewing.
Oh
Larry Bird,
absolutely, the Dream Team. Yeah,
the Dream Team. Exactly.
Yeah.
So there is one of those.
Yeah.
In Austin.
Yeah.
At a certain place and certain time. There's one of those in Dallas.
Yeah.
At a certain place and certain time.
Oh,
and so
absolutely.
now finally I understand what it was for San Antonio.
Oh yeah,
and that's where that was the epicenter of where everything went.
It's funny because we didn't really think of it that way at first.
Not.
It was just so much fun because what we were thinking about was Bohannes, because Bohannes at the time had Jay Corney, Jordan Corney, Andy Hack, Chris Ware, Timmy Bryant. They also had their dream team.
Sure.
But we kind of revered that more because they were under Sasha's tutelage.
Yeah.
So we're like, those guys are fucking badass. That's what we strive to be. We just did our own thing. I mean, somewhat influenced by Sasha, of course, because he pretty much kind of set the standard here in San Antonio. But, we did our own thing. We were the wacky, group.
Well, it's got to start. I mean, I try to think of guys that died really young, like Nick Drake or something, and they put out 3 records and they had this massive impact. And it kind of feels like that at that time. But the thing is, you guys didn't know, and you went and formed other bands, but they were never as as influential as it would be at that one point.
Oh no, not at all, not at all. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that because Steve Martin and I, at any given chance that we can do it, we'll work together.
Yeah.
Because actually after Esquire we worked together at Neo, but that's good. But that whole team right there, man, that was the most. I mean, that was the most amazing time I had as a bartender.
That's incredible.
And it was great, and it was funny because we would all just go to each other's bars. We'd go to Bohannes, we'd go to Soho, and a lot of the whole downtown area around that time was actually pretty stacked. Brett Cohen was at Soho at the time. I know Luffy and Eddie are always going to be there. They're mainstays. They're amazing bartenders, and like that whole time, 2011 to 2012 was great for.
I could see like the glisten in your eyes.
Yeah, no,
you know what I mean. It's like, God damn, those are halcyon days.
Those were amazing days, man. Those were amazing days. Like I remember going in. Like I love going to work on Tuesday. It'd be like me and Kara.
Yeah.
And we'd close the bar down at 12 and make a shit ton of money. And we'd just, it's always, every day was fun. Yeah. Every day was fun for about a 10-month period.
That's incredible.
Until we started all splitting off and doing our own thing.
But you have to evolve. And so, like, I know there's been many other places that you've worked at, but this most recent chapter being at Paramour, right? So when you were the bar manager at Paramour, had lots of responsibility. How long were you doing that gig?
So that was, actually, I jumped on Paramour back in 2014, but the bar didn't open until mid 2015.
Got it. Okay.
So I was kind of like building up the responsibilities and the training manuals and stuff, and I had a spirits information sheet I wrote down for everybody because we had this ridiculous amount of liquor on our back bar, and so I kind of researched every single one and had like this 300-page craziness that I wrote up
with the education, right? Yeah.
I'm educating my guys now, and I was thinking about like how would I make it to where it's not boring to read?
Right.
Bullet points. Yeah. Everybody loves bullet points.
Dude, way easier.
Way easier.
Tweet it at them.
Yeah, 4 words or less.
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom. Okay, now I understand. Great.
Makes sense.
That's how I understand things easier too. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that. So I got involved with that. Actually, Chris Ware I met through Cocktail Conference.
Okay.
I mean, I knew him from working at Bohannes, of course.
Yeah.
And when he would come in at Esquire and I'd come into Bohannes, I knew him from there. But like, our working relationship didn't really start till the second Cocktail Conference, and that was when I actually separated with the Esquire to go work at Neo. And Chris was running the juice room over actually in this hotel.
Yeah.
Before Team Taco was around, we were the juice boys. We were the ones who were batching all the cocktails for the events. And that first day, we worked for 26 hours. That was just fun.
Yeah, it's in the trenches.
Yeah, it was just in the trenches. We smelled like citrus by the end of it. He slept in the juice room. He didn't even go to his room that he had one specific.
Right.
He just stayed there in the juice room. I went home because I lived close by.
Yeah.
But, I went back at like 11 o'clock in the morning. All right, let's do it over again, man. So that's kind of like how me and Chris Ware's working relationship was built.
In the trenches, bonding in the trenches?
Yeah, because of Cocktail Conference.
Well, so does Chris have affiliation with Paramour?
Yeah, he's the GM.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Chris Ware's the GM.
Yeah, you help me kind of understand this stuff.
Yeah.
Or disambiguate the San Antonio
Yeah,
scene
I'm just
a little
kind of, we're kind of going all over the place.
Yeah,
Not really
no.
chronologically.
It's important because it seems like a pretty clear voyage and a pretty clear kind of like narrative through this whole thing, like what makes you.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
And I think that's important. So you were just recently, you made the decision to kind of part ways.
Yeah.
Which, having kind of a really decorated career like you've had thus far, working at great places with great people.
Yeah.
What is the main impetus for you kind of parting ways with Paramour?
It goes back to what we were talking about. I've been trying to work on a book about my career.
Yeah.
And not so much an autobiography, but like how everything was changing around me. And then especially, this is mostly about 2014, 2015, when I jumped over with Paramour, and when all these new bars opened up, like Juniper Tar and Mescaleria Michelin, and all these great places that opened up here in San Antonio, that most of them I helped open because at the time we were waiting for Paramour to open.
Right.
So the story is about like how the bartending world was for us when we went from small market, like 5 bars, to like we're now at like 12, 13 great bars, and how the staff or how the people just spread, and how all of our students now run things. And it's just, I thought
you have
it was
a lot of thoughts on it, a lot of insights.
Yeah, it's just a very profound time. Like that 2014, 2015 period was just a very profound time as a bartender in San Antonio.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to speak on it, and I wanted to write about it. And not only that, I also had a couple of ideas, but I kind of wanted to go back to writing because that is still my number one thing that I want to do. I already achieved a number 2. I already became a bartender.
Yeah.
And not only just a bartender, I was a pretty damn successful bartender. So that was, that was a dream I already achieved. So now I kind of want to achieve the first dream.
That's incredible.
So
how, I like when people do things that are scary.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the only way you can advance your career.
Yeah.
It simply is.
Yeah.
And what you see it being a publishing deal? Do you see staying in San Antonio? What does that look like?
I mean, if I could stay in San Antonio, that'd be great. I really love the city. I mean, I've lived here 20 years now. I mean, we didn't really go about the time that, from Canada to here. But, yeah, I've lived here 20 years now, and I couldn't think of any other place I want to live at. And that's me having traveled to most cities here in the U.S., most great big cities, most wonderful cities. And I love a lot of these cities, but just every time I see them, it's just I know now why I love San Antonio the most. So that's why I'd probably just stay here. Bartending or otherwise. I mean, not that it's, I don't know, building what I built here for myself here in San Antonio. I think it's really hard to leave that.
I know.
And if I can still write books and still be in the same community, maybe just doing something else now. And also, a lot of the things I want to write about is San Antonio bartending. It's
San Antonio centric.
Yeah, this very San Antonio centric because I love this town. I love the people in it.
Yeah.
It's just I cannot fathom what my life would be like if I had moved to other towns because my life here is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And the people I'm around, the people that I associate myself with, and the people I work with are all amazing people. And these are things I want to write about.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I think about it, and so I've got a couple remaining questions for you. It's the first thing I think about is, well, what about in another capacity? So traveling and writing go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So what if someone comes to the table with an offer and says, hey, we want you to represent so-and-so brand as the national guy? Does that interest you to be able to kind of do both?
So I actually had a dark time as a salesman. I think we all have. Yeah. I don't really want to do that anymore.
Yeah.
I can do it. I just wouldn't be happy.
Understand.
And I mean, they're gonna have to really either. Well, even then, even if they did pay me a lot of money, I'd just quickly lose interest, and I'd just be more of a liability than I am.
Yeah.
So that's why I never really tried to get my foot in the door to the brand representation at all. It's just I don't think
you're a writer, man.
I can't do that for people.
Yeah.
I can't do that to people either.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's interesting. I think there's a lot that you could write about. And I think that starting in a place that's familiar, I think, is really important. But I also feel like you've got some experiences that can expound upon that, but go beyond that. Human condition shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does that interest you too? To write a book of that nature? I feel
like a lot of my writing actually likes to I like to explore emotion.
Yeah.
Because I tend to be somewhat emotional, hence the short temper.
Sure.
I like to explore human emotion and human connection and all that. And that's why a lot of the things I write would always be people-centric, dialogue-centric. My favorite kinds of movies are dialogue movies, like Quentin Tarantino movies.
Sure.
Anything to do with heavy dialogue. I love that. And so I think for me, that's why there's always going to be people. It's going to be about people and not so much situation, but just how people are connected and how people are interacting with each other. And that's kind of like an interest of mine. I just, sociology was one of my favorite subjects in college. And, it's just kind of that's the same thing, just I like, the study of people, and I like to study people, and that's probably why I'm also a bartender, because, while a lot of us would say oh, I hate dealing with people, there's an interesting, whole thing to that, to just observing people in their, in their habitat.
Yeah. I think it's something really primal about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Observing and kind of interacting. So, well, dude, it's been brilliant chatting. I'm so glad you were able to
absolutely,
kind of step away from the taco-laden St. Anthony Hotel, I mean,
there is a lot of tacos, so, hopefully there's still some when I get back.
I'm sure there will be, mate. I can't wait to see what comes from that mind of yours, where it evolves and where it goes.
I plan to be published by the end of the year, so
That's a great plan.
Hopefully that will happen. If it doesn't, I mean, shit, I can always turn back to my number 2, right? I'm pretty good at that.
Number 2, turning it down. All right, dude. Thanks so much, Jonny, for chatting with me.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Well, there we have it, Mr. Jonny Yumol, the San Antonio cocktail legend himself. Very easy to talk to, very easy to get along with. I'm very excited about the transition for him from behind the bar to behind the wheel to behind the typewriter. I suppose on the horizon is the next great American novel, and I hope he can pen exactly the thoughts that he's been thinking and feeling for so long. So best of luck on pursuing the published work, Jonny, and it was great getting to chat with you. And thank you for listening to Show to V with Mike G. No matter what you're thinking about Cameron Crowe's latest project, Roadies on Showtime, which I personally think is quite great, or if you're thinking, man, when is Calvados and Apple Brandy truly going to be the next big thing in American cocktails, please keep dancing.